Hey everybody, how you doing? What's going on? How is everybody doing? Oh man, it has been a day. Welcome to the dark side of the room. And I am, as always, your host, Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer. And I want to thank you for joining me today on the dark side of the room. Now, today, I want to tell you guys that this show is about being an outsider. Being an outsider in hobbies or other whole bunches of different places. Just saying, hey, you know what's up? Hey, we got a new subscriber today. Thank you so much. That looks like, who is that? Oh, okay, now it's doing the thing. Let's see. Well, thank you for subscribing. Clever little vixen, it looks like. Yep. And I will tell you quite honestly, this channel is about being an outsider amongst outsiders, and to say, hey, y'all are welcome. We can do our thing. So if you are a person of color, LGBTQ+, neurodivergent, physically differently abled, or physically disenfranchised from the hobbies that you want to try, welcome aboard. How you guys doing? Anyway, we are live right now on Twitch and on YouTube, and I am so happy to have the people here and showing up. This is great. This is dandy. We're going to be talking about some fun stuff today. I am all about finding solutions to various things, of course. And if you guys want to join the conversation and all that jazz, that's very easy. All you got to do is pull up your keyboard, open that email, and send an email to backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK@gmail.com. And of course, you can totally hit us up on them social medias. Twitter @backinthedeck, Instagram @backinthedeck, and on TikTok. Yeah, that's right. You can see just some of our fun stuff over on TikTok, the tick-a-tock. And yeah, you can find us on TikTok at bidp, or should I say BIDPY. Now, I want to thank a lot of you people that help keep our programs going, like our archery program, our role-playing program, and of course, keep this stuff going as far as, well, making it so that we can broadcast every day. And that is a real thing. That is a very real thing. So, if you guys want to hop onto that, then all you got to do is head over to patreon.com/BID_P, and you too can become a decker for as little as $1 a month, and you'll have access to our archive, all of our other posts, our live shows, our recorded shows, and a lot of the fun stuff that we have been doing. Our tiers start at $1. It's $1. That's it. $1. I think we're as cool as, like, a candy bar. I would have to say, or at least one of those little fruit pies. One of those little fruit pies. But I will also say our tiers go up to $100. Whatever you can afford would seriously be appreciated. We gotta buy role-playing books and all the materials to keep the printers going so that we can make copies of character sheets and PDFs for the kids in the neighborhood who are teaching role-playing and crafts and archery, because man, that's expensive. And of course, I gotta keep these bills paid and all that stuff. I want to give a serious shout out and a hello, of course, to my folks in the chat, not just the regular NP City, but I'm talking, of course, Dame Bento, Clever Little Vixen, Arabs, what's up? Who is that? That's Gian. Oh, that looks like Gillen Ring Gaming. Cool. Joint effort, and Lily Red Wolf. Thank you guys for showing up today. What's up to my lurkers? I'm saying what's going on to my lurkers out there because I love my lurkers. Seriously, love you guys, love you guys. And I'm going to say hello in print to my people on YouTube. For those of you guys that are just, for some of you guys that just might be lurking out there. And today we got some serious stuff that we want to talk about today. Because as you guys got with the notifications that a lot of these hobbies, a lot of any hobby, okay, any hobby whatsoever out there can easily, very easily, be intimidating to start. I don't care if it's role-playing games, because there's a lot of people that are like, I don't know, I'm not really into D&D. I get that, but this ain't just about D&D. If you're into role-playing games, cosplay, comic books, photography, filmmaking, hang gliding, I don't know, 16th century aphrodisiac cooking from Southwest Scandinavia. Who knows what you are into? But there are a lot of common complaints about so many hobbies that we are going to get into today, and we are going to find, or I'm going to suggest a few solutions to a lot of those things. So while we are doing that, I want to say again a big hello to everybody and thank the people for showing up. Cool. See, I'm getting better at this. It's only taken like 6 or 7 minutes to talk about these things. And of course, I'm sharing our announcement to say, hey, yeah, what's going on? We're live right now. Look at us being live. You know, I mean, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. So, as you guys know, I have gone through a lot of hobbies over the course of my life. A whole lot of hobbies. And I mean, so many hobbies that cost so much money, so much time, just so many different things. And there are a lot of common, and I mean that, a lot of common things that that come across. Hang on, sofa. Come on, Sofa King. There we go. Boom. And of course, one last one. Boom. All right. To my favorite people. I want to give a big shout out to my patrons because I do that on every show. So what's going on to my royalty tier of Queen Shannon Boom Boom Lay, Queen Shaylee Watson, and Queen Laura Holton. Now I'm looking for some more kings and queens at the $20 tier and higher. You guys get the shout out at every single show that we do. And I'm here at a minimum 5 days a week. I mean, you know, this is like a real job for me. So now that I've gotten off of that particular tangent, there are a lot of hobbies out there that people can be like, look, I want to get into it, but it's too expensive, or just a whole lot of things. And I've done some research, some personal research, and thought back on my own experiences. And there are quite a few common complaints when it comes to getting into stuff, knowing stuff, or starting something and wanting to stay there. Now, of course, I talk from the perspective of tabletop role-playing games and miniatures games because that's what I'm into right now. But I've done the Fire community with Burning Man. I've done Ren Fair, the Society for Creative Anachronisms. I've done origami. I've done computers. I've done the tech. I've done first-person shooters. Actually, no, I haven't. That came after. That came after my time in video games. But there are some common reasons that folks avoid starting new hobbies. Okay, we're talking Um, General things to super specific things. Um, and I will tell you, the first thing when it comes to starting a new hobby, the first thing that stands in the way of more people than you would think would be cost and perception of poverty. Okay. That's a real big thing. All right. There are so many things out there competing for our attention and our finances. Where do you pick one? All right. I know some people that want to get into comics and they're like, where do I start? And I'm like, okay, well, what do you like reading? What types of stuff do you like reading? And I can recommend something based on my experience as a longtime comic fan, like, oh, you would really like this. You would really like the X-Men of these years. You would like the Justice League from these years. You would like Y the Last Man. You would like Transmetropolitan. You would really like Fables. You would really like Saga, that kind of thing. But the cost is one of the biggest deterrents of getting in to a lot of these hobby things. And it's something that I totally understand. Um, Most of us are grown-ups from a certain time period, okay? Just a certain time period. I grew up in the mid 80s and the 90s, okay? Um, so I have an interesting relationship when it comes to how much money I'm paying out, okay? This is important because I'll look at something and I constantly have to remind myself that $5 today spends like $1 did when I was a kid. Okay, that's the value for my buck I get. Um, I know when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, $100 seems so far away. And now it's kind of like, yeah, $100, that doesn't even cover my electricity bill for a month. Um, when I was a kid, the average unattainable price was about $15. Okay. $15 was the cost of most role playing books. Um, I know model kits were less than $15. Um, you can get a kite for $2, but you can get a kite. Like one of those two string things, those awesome, like stunt kites and all that stuff for about $10 to $15. you know um and that's not the case anymore. Heck, um McDonald's for two people costs like 20, sometimes 30. So truthfully, the dollar doesn't spend as far as it does. um and as we talked about with a few of the co-hosts that I've had on over the past few shows, there is a culture of not quite elitism, but spending. And in the 21st century, it's really interesting because I spend a lot of time looking at social media. I'm not great at catching it, but I spend a lot of time seeing stuff with social media. And it's always about putting your best foot forward or constantly talking about what's wrong with you biologically that can't be changed, i.e., anxiety, depression, ADD, all the time, or look at the awesome adventure that my life is. It's never in between, which means it's not very honest. Boy, my emails are going to blow up after that, I can tell you. But it's really true. It's a thing that I see all over my feed, all over Instagram, all over Twitter. Um, and so this idea of expertise or um the other day the show was about how the absolute best, the highest priority, the Steven Spielberg and Steven Soderbergh and Oliver Stones and Quentin Tarantino, like you have to be that good to have a YouTube channel. That's what people think. So this intimidating hurdle of starting something new. It's if I can't master it at that level on my first day, I may as well not try. And and personally, and boy, this is real as I like getting on the channel. Personally, I think it comes from growing up in the 90s. I grew up in the hood, but I had a better experience in the hood than a lot of people did. But a lot of my friends from the suburbs were forced to be perfect or they had absolutely no value. And that means um their day job gets in the way and they can't turn in something to get a lower interest rate on their loan, then they can't do anything. They are stupid and they shouldn't exist. Or if they get a math equation, if they get the incorrect answer for a math equation, then they as people are wrong. And that causes a lot of anxiety about starting new things. Okay. So those are big, but I've done shows on those this week. Check the archive, check the YouTube channel. They're already there, and I've had some very cool guests. Um, but let's take some common preconceptions about new things. Now, we're going to be talking from a standpoint of role-playing games to people that have never played role-playing games. But, but if that's not your bag, then stick around, okay? Because you can apply these principles to collecting drones, smartphones, computers, video games. Oh my God, video games, especially if you're one of the elite master race of the PC gamers. Um, Photography is definitely one of those things, or playing musical instruments, or anything new that you've gotten yourself into. Whoa, I've lost some viewers on that one, but you know what? I figured because when we get really real, stuff gets really real. Um, oh, dude, welcome back, Sofa King. How you doing? All right, I'm glad you showed up. Um, so there are some preconceived notions about a lot of hobbies. Now, like I said, I speak from the standpoint of role-playing games, but this particular point comes through with mostly anything technical and mostly anything nerdy, which is it's for nerds and there's too much math involved. You know, that's a really, really big thing, and I start to think about those things. And one of the things that I always push to people is how actually amazing they are. Okay, now this amazingness doesn't lead to entitlement because we're not entitled to stuff. But each one of you that are seeing this right now is amazing. Okay? Um I challenge any of you guys after you watch this show to go on Nebula or YouTube or the Discovery Channel, whatever streaming service that's on right now, and take a look at anything involving robotics. Okay. And you'll see that the simple act of running or jogging is a miraculous thing. It takes so much calculation to run or to move your hand. To do anything with your body takes so much mathematics, so many calculations, and so many processes. It is out of this world when you try and itemize it. And anyone who's worked in robotics or who's watched a documentary on robotics knows exactly what I'm talking about. Just the idea of changing your mind, making a split second decision. That's a lot of math. So the idea of doing the equations to work out the difference between your f-stops and your apertures for photography or filmmaking, or what your bonuses might be in D&D, or the monthly cost of comic books that you would have to budget to make sure that you don't go over budget. All of these things are super simple compared to the things that you do every day. Okay, I think about this often because I ride a motorcycle. I can't tell you how many calculations I'm making on like by the nanosecond. How close am I to the car in front of me? Are there escape routes in case somebody slams their brakes on? How much space do I need in between cars in case somebody starts getting stupid? Is the carpool lane open? Who else is around me? Whose blind spot am I in? But I do it. Okay. And these are all the things that you do every day, even when you wake up in the middle of the night and have to go to the bathroom. Um, each one of your brains and your minds are astounding in its capability. But it's for nerds. You know what? Revenge of the Nerds was in the theaters when I was a kid. And well, the only thing that kept me from being the prototypical nerd when I was a child was the fact that I didn't need glasses until I was 40. I mean, seriously, that was it. Um, and it really was um, a stigma when it comes to being a nerd, you know? But here's the thing, we live in the 21st century. This is literally the world of nerds. Okay, right now we are talking to you on the internet in real time because of nerds. Nerds that decided to put satellites in the sky, that sat down with a bunch of rocks, and that's all circuitry is: quartz crystals, ceramic, various silicon, just different sizes and shapes of rocks, and put them together. And now we have circuit boards and black mirrors and future looking devices, you know. So it really is a thing. But most people don't realize this up front, you know. Um, I get it. The idea of getting into something new and being overwhelmed at what it takes to become competent is very easy. It's astounding, it's heavy, and the amount of information out there can be huge. We talked about this the other day when it comes to the difference between hobby and lifestyle. And I said it then, I'll say it now. You are a rabbit. There is no, you do not have to go down those holes. Okay. Um, so the level of intimidation of doing the math and having the preconceived notions of the nerdiness, that's an old idea that's managed to creep its way into um into modern culture. Or more to the point, it has yet to die off, but it's on its way. All right. Um, so the solution to that is understand your capabilities and know that the people who would recommend this to you believe in you for a reason. They know you're smart enough to do this. Um, and as far as falling down rabbit holes or too much math and stuff, know your own limit. Okay. I have some amazingly talented friends that come from a different economic class. A really good friend of mine just the other day was telling me about a conversation he had where one of his elders had bought a selfie stick for the first time. And he's like, just get a gimbal. I'm like, dude, you're talking the difference between $1 and $60. Come on. It's not just about go out and do that. But that's the world he comes from. He loves having the best and the brightest and the top of the line of all gear. Um, any of you guys that know any Apple fans, y'all know what I'm talking about. I don't know the difference between an iPhone 10 and an iPhone 12. It makes calls, it runs the apps that I use. That's it. Um, but the thing is, you don't have to be like that to be within the atmosphere. You can choose what layer of the onion that you go to. Okay. Um, One of the biggest things that I see comes comes with not understanding the rules. I don't exactly know what I'm talking about. Or sorry. No, now one of the biggest preconceptions, like with role-playing games, is I don't understand the rules, and there are a lot of them. Now, one of the major things I've learned about role-playing games over the 33 years that I've been playing them, no, it's been more than that. It's been more like 35 years that I've been playing them. Um, there are a bunch. of rules. Okay, a bunch of rules to playing a role-playing game and a bunch of rules to running one. However, no one who plays the games for less than 10 years knows all of them. In fact, I'm very privileged to know a few writers at a few companies, and the people who wrote the book get get rules wrong from time to time. It's it's not a big thing, okay? Um, in all hobbies or all things that you do for a reason other than money, if there's this much that is possible, chances are you'll only be using that much. Okay. Every time I sit someone down at one of my role playing game tables, I sit them down and I let them know the basic thing they can do to not get their characters killed in combat. Um, but I show them little by little what their characters are capable of and what the limits are and what the limits are not. Okay. One of the reasons that a lot of games, be it video games or tabletop RPGs, have taken this leveling system into account is because the easiest way to make sure that someone learns nothing is to tell them everything up front all at once. They will go, because you start talking about magic systems and you're like, well, yeah, there are different ways. I mean, you can have somatic and you can have verbal, and then you can have mechanical, and after about 15 seconds, you'll see them go, doo, and this is why there are teachers, okay? Um, so when it comes to people being afraid that they can't understand the rules, um, just think about the idea of how many rules there are to something that you do every day. Okay. Just living, being an adult comes with a whole bunch of rules that we learn little by little by little over the course of years. Okay. This is what people mean when they say it's, you have to learn how to walk before you learn, learn to crawl before you learn to walk before you run, and learn to run before you fly. And most people want to jump straight to flying because that's where they see the fun is. And that is where most people on the internet like to project that they are. Okay. And that's that whole thing. That projection of expertise from people. In regards to gaming. Um, I do this a lot. I see playthroughs on YouTube, and these people are running through like whatever the hot third person game is right now. Like, um, when I was watching a playthrough of Fallout 76, the dude that was doing it ran properly in every direction, went to the right thing, always took the right paths. They made it look easy. Now, granted, there was a lot of editing, but the smoothness of their controller was something that was way beyond me. And then it hit me. This person has probably been playing video games nonstop since they were children. And when I say nonstop, I don't mean like no eating, no sleeping. They're just a head with a pair of hands on a control. No, no, no. I mean, this has been one of the pieces of their lives, okay? For their entire life. I got out of video games at the PlayStation, at the first PlayStation 1. Bushido Blade and Final Fantasy VII were the last games that I played to completion. And then when I got together with my girl like 10 years ago, she had a PS3, you know, and I tried and I said, nope, too confusing, and I walked away. That was just how I rolled at that. But the people that do it have been doing it nonstop since they were kids. Um, when it comes to tabletop gaming, people look at things like Critical Role and Escape from Dragonheim and God, I forgot the name that XP to Level 3 does. I forgot the name of their campaign. And they see these role players that know the rules. They have, fun going. They very rarely have any questions. Everybody knows how everything works. And I can tell you, the Critical Role game was happening at Matt Mercer's house for years before they started live streaming. You know, that crew has been playing Dungeons and Dragons for the past 20 something years. The people at XP to level 3, they put in 40 hours a week easily on that stuff. And when you're just starting out, it's easy to look at what they know and to see how much you don't know and get discouraged. But here's the thing, and I talked about this not too long ago. Trivia doesn't equal expertise. Okay? Um, Everyone learns and everyone starts from the same place when they haven't done it before. Okay? It's really that simple. No one starts with a PhD in everything, and I can't push that point enough. You know, we start to think that just because we're just stumbling across these people, that they're experts. But there was a time where Jackie Chan had to practice his kicks. You know, there were times when LeBron had to practice his dribbling. And there's nothing wrong with being that. Okay. Um, Now I want to talk about stuff that isn't video games. Tabletop RPGs, cosplay, creation of just about anything, especially visual art. Okay, visual art is a huge thing. All right. One of the reasons not to get into it, or um, common reasons that a lot of folks avoid it, is because A, there's very little visualization in front. And what do I mean with that? When you play a video game, okay, everything is there. They run you through the tutorial, but you don't have to imagine anything if you don't want to. Okay. Even the video games that I play right now, I don't immerse myself in the story from a first person point of view. I go, I have to click and blah blah blah. That is what I'm doing. Um, there's, when I'm playing like Baldur's Gate or Diablo or something, I very rarely think about the story. Most of the time I go click, 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 kill the demons, kill the demons, kill the skeletons, kill the skeletons. What is that with a goat head? Don't care. It's not on my side. And I skip past the cinematics because I like doing the thing. If you haven't noticed, yeah, I do puzzle games on my phone too. Um, but there's the mechanics, there's the immersion. Okay. But it's easy to just deal with that kind of thing with video games, primarily because it's all there in front of you and there's not a whole lot of work you have to do in your brain. Okay, not as much work. Um, um, so when it comes down to playing role-playing games or doing art for the first time, because I'll tell you, I can't draw. But those are two separate subjects. When you're playing a role-playing game for the first time, be it Dungeons and Dragons, Call of Cthulhu, whatever, um, the rule book is a textbook and it doesn't have a whole lot of pictures of gameplay. So how do you visualize this stuff? You're told that it's a game of imagination, but it's very rare that you're told what boundaries that you are to imagine within. Okay. In fact, most people say, "Oh, you can it's boundless. You can do anything," and it's like, no, the rules make it so that you can't do some stuff. It's the only way to make a game interesting. Um, and when it comes to art, and this is a big thing, like I said, I can't draw. Okay, drawing, putting pen to paper or putting mouse to, yeah, I that is not one of my talents. I've never been able to cultivate it. My mom was an amazing visual artist. Okay, but hell, I can't even draw a straight line with a square. Okay, that is how untalented I am at putting lines together and drawing sounds. That's just, yeah, it's not me. But when it comes to painting miniatures and stuff like that, even set design, all right, a lot of us get in the way of what we think we want versus what is possible. And this wraps right back around to cost. Okay. Um, when I first got started painting miniatures, I didn't know what I was doing. And the instruction manuals didn't really speak to me because I'm like, how much paint do I put on a brush? How hard do I press the brush on the miniature in order to do the paint? Like, all right, I'm getting all these numbers and all these sayings, but I had to learn an entirely new language in order to paint miniatures decently. And um, I had a hard time visualizing what I wanted the thing to look like when I was done. And then when I did visualize what I wanted stuff to look like after I was done painting, it never adds up to that. It never, ever, ever did. So I had to re-establish my context of expectations. And that leads us to the point of clear winning conditions. All right. There are a lot of things, especially with hobbies, where so many of us, man, people always texting me when I'm broadcasting live. I'm like, bruh. Oh, okay. Looks like it's a Russian bot. Um, yeah. There are so many times that I've sat people down, and when they think game, they think sport. Okay. Like football, baseball, basketball, um, a clear win condition, get more than everybody else on the table. And I find it an interesting cultural mirror because we're taught from very young age to compete, even when we're competing on the same team. Okay. I pass the ball to me. I got to get the ball. I've got to catch that fly ball. The other team, excuse me, the other team is beating us because someone else on my team isn't doing what their position is saying. I can't tell you how many football games I've heard um over the course of my life where the players were like, man, defense has got to D up, and I'm like, okay, but aren't you on the defensive line? And when you're on the offensive line, shouldn't you try and, increase the gap between their score and your score? I mean, really, that's, okay, but I wasn't really, hang on. There we go. I wasn't really allowed on sports teams as a kid. so, so yeah, that's real. Um, so when I'm looking at this stuff and I think about the win conditions, not the win conditions of the game, but the individual win conditions of the players. All right. I often talk about creating your own fun, getting your own victories, and within the culture, within any culture, we can set our own limitations. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten involved with something just for people to tell me that I'm not living up to my potential. And I'm like, dude, one, if you want me to live up to your potential, provide the tools and give me the instructions. Second, um, I'm playing a game. I'm not trying to be efficient. I'm I'm trying to have fun, and I have fun within the process of playing. Okay. I could be a world-class Go player or a world-class chess player if I worked at it, but I don't care about mastery. When I am at a D&D table, I want fun. I want teamwork. I want everyone to feel like they're contributing, when I'm playing or when I'm not playing. It's not always about efficiency or expertise. Um, Primarily because in my personal experience, and your mileage may vary, um, efficient expertise leads to getting bored very quickly. Like very quickly. Limitations cause good story, and that's what I'm into everything for. Um, I saw a product comparison because I'm doing some shopping for the company. And one of the guys said, um, difficulties in the front lead to expertise on the back end. And a lot of people think they have to buy the best stuff or win by the most margin at the beginning. But there's an old saying that you have to lose to know how to win. or defeat is the best teacher. Um, what I've learned over the course of my life, be it music, filmmaking, writing, they say that a poor craftsman blames his tools, and that's only half true. Okay. Um, Fact: great tools make things easier. However, having fewer tools or bad quality stuff inspires the people to learn how to accomplish the goal with what they have versus um believing that they need this top quality thing to do anything. And that leads to a serious hurdle. That winning condition, that I have to crush everything and I need all the best tools to do it. When I sit down with a lot of D&D players today, I use the old rules for Adventure League, which I'm huge on. Which is the player's handbook, the base book that you need to play the game, and one other book, just one. Why? Because when there's a stack of books this big with all of the ways to make a character work, or to make a character viable, or to make a character win at tournament, um, new players get overwhelmed by that. You know, new people get overwhelmed by that. I went to San Diego Comic Con, I believe it was 2009, and I went to a panel on how to get into the comic industry because I wanted to, and I still um okay, the chat is just messed up, man. Yeah, working through limitation is artistry. You nailed it, Vixen. And of course, if the referee is properly bribed, bribed to throw the game, he wins too. So true. Um, but when I was at this panel, okay, I wanted to, and I still, in a lot of ways, want to be a comic book writer. Okay, I love storytelling, and I can't draw, so but in 2009, this guy hosted a panel where he told a bunch of 15 to 22-year-old hopefuls, like, I want to get into the comic book industry. How do I become a comic artist? And he told them flat out that you have to be at least as good as Jim Lee to even be considered for a job. Boy, I can tell you, I almost got up and slapped him like he owed me money. All right? To say that you have to be at least as good as someone who was working professionally and then quit working for the big companies, started their own company, and became a millionaire. That is what you have to be able to do to get a job at starting wages. Shut your mouth, okay? You can have some corn on that. Because the fact of the matter is, that guy wasn't telling the truth. Okay. I found out later that that guy was specifically telling the truth to get people who weren't up to par to quit. And I hate those games. All right. It's just a matter of knowing where you want to end up and learning how to get there. All right. And all of these things apply to anything new that you start. You know, you don't have to hold yourself up to the super talented entrepreneur that's been training to do this their whole lives. Dude, you know, I will never be as good a martial artist as Bruce Lee. I don't want to be. I enjoy things like bread and ice cream and cigarettes. That is what I like doing. But, hey, Sour Lights, right? Right? Exactly. I enjoy those things, you know. So I'll never be as good as Bruce Lee. I'll never be as good as Jackie Chan. But the fact is, I never wanted to be, you know. Every person I teach, especially when I teach music, the first question I ask is, are you playing for your soul? Or are you trying to get famous? Or are you trying to become steadily employed? because that will determine your syllabus. you know, um, not or having a good idea of where you want to end up, what goal you want to achieve is a fantastic thing to keep in mind that a lot of people don't think about. And so when they see the level 20 character that lives in a floating sky castle, and then they see their level 1 wizard that gets killed by a rat while they are sleeping on a long rest, that can get kind of what's the term, disheartening. Okay. And one of the last reasons that I see that people are avoidant in getting into hobbies is that they don't know where to start. I get that. I read a lot, but I read a lot of long running things. Okay. Um, Terry Pratchett comes to mind with this because I am a huge fan of Terry Pratchett's Discworld. Okay, I really am. However, that's 45 novels. And a lot of people think, well, if I'm going to do it, I'll start at the beginning. And I'm like, okay, you don't have to do that. In fact, you don't have to do that with a lot of things. Um, let's take Dungeons and Dragons for example. Um, you can start with the 5th edition Player's Handbook. You don't have to go back to Chainmail in 1972. You don't have to read Advanced Dungeons and Dragons from 1978. You don't have to read all the editions that came up. You can start with creating a character in 5th edition. That's it. Or you can start with watching somebody that does it before you. It's really that simple. Um, when it comes to filmmaking, I want to make movies the likes of Roger Corman and Asylum Films. So I don't have to study Orson Welles, although I have. I don't have to study um 1960s French Nouveau film. It helps, but I don't have to. You know, I like the idea of getting a camera, going out and filming something, putting it together and see what it got. Ha ha! I'm happy with the process. You know, and whenever someone tells me they don't know where to start, the first thing that I do is ask, um, what do they think the outward goal is? Okay. It really seems like a convoluted question, but follow me on this. Well, I don't know where to start playing. All right, well, what do you think this is? Like, I'm running a fantasy campaign, and fantasy is all based on Lord of the Rings. Um, so pick a member of the fellowship. Man, I like Legolas and all that stuff. Okay, you want to play an elf. Chances are you want to play a fighter because they have really good archery skills. And that's where we start. However, by the time the Lord of the Rings came about, Legolas was about 2,000 years old. Your character starts at 125, which means the pop culture character that you see is at level 14 or 15, and you're starting at level 1, straight out of college. All right. Um, so know that that's where you're going. Um, yeah. Thank you, Vixen. Thank you very much. Yeah, go ahead and study the greats, but don't make them your first watermark or let their achievements stop you from trying. That is so well put. You know, this idea that you have to be as good as the best that there is out there before you can start looking for relevance. Bah, I don't believe that. And there was a time that I did, and I ended up depressed, self-discouraged, um, and I was a mess, you know. When I started doing this 8 years ago, I mean, hell, it's been 8 years and I still don't have that big a following. Help me out with that though, guys. Seriously, help me out. Like, share these videos and tell people, you know what, this guy's pretty cool. Um, when I first started this, I started this with a show called Fluff Talk. It's on the YouTube channel, and it's in a playlist called Fluff Talk, and there were no visuals. I had a friend, and we were talking about settings of role-playing games because that's what we liked. And the fact of the matter is, I had two microphones from Guitar Hero. I think it was Guitar Hero 3 because they're the ones that came with the USB. And a 6-year-old computer that was running Linux, and I had Audacity as the program. That was it. That's all I had. Um, and if you look through my YouTube timeline, you can see all the improvements I've made over the past 8 years. And I've done so at the fastest pace that I can based on what materials were available, like what cameras I had. Heck, there was a point I was recording video and doing stuff on two iPhones. I think they were iPhone 5s that friends had given me because they had just gotten the iPhone 8. Okay. I'm like that's the realness of all of this stuff. And I know that the quality that I have right now isn't as good as I'd like it to be and not as good as a lot of other people's quality. But if that froze me, I would never have gotten to this point. Okay? No one learns calculus in kindergarten. And the only three words that I have to say to that is that's okay. You know, if you're interested, if you're open, if you have an open mind to try something new, my rule is I give it 4 times. Okay. If I can see advancement after 4 times or I learn something new and interesting along the way, then I can grow a passion for it. And if I can't, then I know it's not for me. But I think that four four different encounters with a thing is something that can really give you a good bellwether for if you like it. But those encounters have got to have true and honest, um, not insight, introspection. What you like, what you don't like, what is there, that kind of thing. Because there's a lot of reasons why we like or don't like something, but so few of us know why in this day and age. It's easy to find out why. Why don't I like it? There's a lot of games that I love, but I don't have access to a community that I can stand being around, not in the region that I live. So I don't play those games as often as I'd like. A lot of them I've sold all my stuff and I just got out completely because, again, gaming is my lifestyle. A particular game is not. But yeah, so when it comes to the common complaints and the obstacles, let's just sum up, okay? Um, Even when something looks like it has a lot of complicated and convoluted rules, what I would recommend is going on YouTube and watching a playthrough that's no longer than an hour. Okay, there's lots of instructional tools and a lot of playthroughs. I know there's a lot of rules to a lot of games that are just poorly written and a lot of jibber jabber on the internet, from not just experts, because experts are guilty of the jargon jibber jabber too. Okay. Um, they'll talk to you as though you know the lexicon, as though you know the whole language that it's in. I've been finding this out when it comes to looking at camera lenses and different things for a digital medium, because when I graduated film school, it was film and beta tapes. Okay, that was my history. So the new digital medium with white balance instead of black balance, that's a whole new thing. So I'm relearning lenses and relearning sensors and all that jazz. But in learning, I get all these people that are going, yeah, so when you do your f-stop, you have to make sure that if you're at a 4 3/3 sensor, that the speed booster that you're using is a 0.6. So what you have to do is you have to multiply the 0.6 by your f-stop, which will give you the new f-stop, which translates to this on this camera, but this on this camera, and I'm just like, ow, you know? Um, but if you watch a playthrough and look for information on the internet, in my case, videos that answer your direct questions. Okay. Um, One of the reasons I'm very taken with D&D 5th edition right now is that there's so many rules clarifications that are very easy to look up on Google. Okay. When I was doing research for this episode, people were like, oh, and the grappling rules are blah, 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 blah. I looked at the grappling rules. I looked at the examples they give, and I'm like, this isn't that complicated. You know, you make a strength check. The person you're grabbing either makes a strength, athletics, or a dexterity, acrobatics to get out of it. Because nobody goes, oh, I'm grabbed. I'll just wait. You know, I mean, and that's the whole thing. And if you win, and then wait until next round. And that's what do you want to do now that you have them all locked up? It's that simple. And I'm with that. I'm absolutely with that. I'm like, that's really simple. What's the problem? But you'll come across people that have lots of jargon when the rules seem too complicated. Just look at what they're saying. um it's good to see you there. Whoa. Let's see. Let me see if I can get this right. Neonarlicino. Yeah, Neonarlicino. Let me know if I got that right. Um, yeah, there are size differentials. There's always something else to make things more complicated. But when you're just learning and things are complicated, start with what we called in algebra the absolute value. Is this a negative number or a positive number? Well, if you take away that negative or that positive sign, I'm getting all gesticular. um, if you take away those things, what's left? -3, +3, not quite negative or +3, still 3. Okay. Yeah, there are size differentials and all that stuff, but get a hold of the basic fundamentals first. One of the thing, Neonar Lekino. Lekino. Harlequin. Oh, all right, Neon Arlecchino. Or Arlecchino. Okay, I got you. Thank you. Thank you very much. See, I read what you guys put out there. Just take stuff at you-sized bites and don't let the pressure of your surroundings overwhelm you. Not knowing where to start, you don't have to start at the very beginning. That's like saying every time you want to take an expressway, you have to go all the way to where it starts. As you guys know, I do all this broadcasting, and the Wizard's Tower here is it's in Los Angeles, California. Okay? I am in Los Angeles, California. What does that mean? That means I am at the end of, well, nope, not that one. I'm at the very, 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 very end of the 10 freeway. Okay. Yes, the same 10 freeway that goes all the way to Georgia, all the way to Florida. I'm at the west end of that. I literally am like 15 minutes from the water. Okay, it ends at the water, and that is where I am. So if I want to take the 10 freeway anywhere, I don't go all the way to the water to hop on the 10. That makes no sense. Okay, just like I don't go all the way to Georgia. Like, man, I got to go there, but it's off the 10. Let me fly all the way to Florida and then drive back because I want to do the whole thing. It's not like that. Find an entry point. Like with comic books, start with a story. Just where's the beginning of this story arc? If you're coming to the end of a story arc, then wait until that story arc wraps up and start at the beginning of the next one. If there are no clear winning conditions, then you can set your own minor goals. All right. One of the reasons that the Joker beats Batman every time those two clash is because the Joker has his own criteria for victory. His base criteria is really make the Batman angry and to make the Batman come out and try and stop him. As long as he's done that, he's happy. All right. And that's where you can learn. When it comes to learning board games or doing your cosplay, cosplay is a really big thing. That's simple. Start with an accessory, a singular accessory. If you want to make, say, an Iron Man cosplay, um, start with a finger. Get the finger right. Start with the whole glove if you're feeling ambitious, or start with a leg piece, you know, because when you're at the beginning, everything you do will be teaching you a bunch, and that takes a while. All right. So be patient and set your own winning conditions if there are no winning conditions. As far as visualization up front, um, that one, the easiest thing for me to say is that except that it's a game, okay? It may not have the same visualizations as a video game. It may not have the same visualization as, say, Monopoly or Risk, but it can. And if you really need these things, and the person that you're talking to that's trying to get you into it will listen, let them know maybe miniatures and maps would be really good for you. And when I say miniatures, you don't have to go out there and get Dwarven Forge, okay? You really don't. Paper cutouts are fine. You can easily, for about 15, 20 bucks, get a flat mat that's gridded with 1 inch squares. You can get yourself a little miniature for like $2 to $5, and that's it. Or you can print out something about the same size and glue it to a penny, and there you go. So I know a lot of players need that for visualization, especially in fight scenes. You get what I mean? Um, and when it comes to too much math and all that stuff, if you think that there's way too much math or you don't understand certain things, then trust the person that's getting you into the stuff to walk you through the math, okay? Um, if you need to understand why, it's fine to ask for instruction. And anybody that tells you that it's not is really somebody that's not worth your time, okay? And I live by this. I live by this hard, okay? This was kind of into the whole COVID isolation thing. Um, I had gotten into it with my supervisor at the job that I was working, and he asked me to line up things with the forklift in a certain way. And he told me that the way that I was doing it was incorrect. And so I asked him to show me either how it's incorrect or how to do it properly. Okay. I asked him I asked him for what I needed to live up to what he requested. He told me no, so I quit that day. Because if I'm going to be penalized for not knowing something, and the penalizer refuses to show me how to do it correctly, I'm not in an environment that's actually worth my time and my effort. Okay? Um, and that's my criteria for victory. So if you can't understand, go ahead and ask. And if the person that you ask is not cooperative, maybe not play with them, but don't write off an entire possible good thing because one or two people around you can't get into it, especially now that there are so many online communities. Now, most communities, in my experience, are a little more than garbage. It's a hot take, I know, but I've been given so much crap and come across so many racist people and so many, if you weren't here at the start, you'll never belong places. But I kept looking and I found some really good spots. Like Dickers on the Book. Yeah, I started my own. All right, it's a thing. But but the fact of the matter is there's a lot of good places out there and it's fine to not understand these things. So all of these things that we're talking about are easily gotten over with communication and willingness to learn that stuff. All right. But that is the main stuff that I wanted to talk to you guys about today. Okay. I really this stuff really hits home to me in my heart. And yeah, it hits close to me in my heart. And I want to, I really want to make it so that you guys out there can have the same enjoyment and fulfillment from a lot of these things that I've come to get, I've come to over the past 3.5 decades. Okay. I want to give a major shout out to my folks in the chat. We're talking Clever Little Vixen, Boom Chicka Boom 510, Chasing TV. It's good to have you back, man. What is that? Dame Red Bento. Good to have you back again. This is the second day in a row. This is Arabs. Love to see you. Lily Red Wolf. And hang on. Neon Arlecchino. All right, there we go. I think that's Nina Tia. And of course, the king of living room furniture himself, Sofa King Super. I am so happy to have you guys back. And right now, the YouTube doesn't have a whole lot of viewers, but that's okay. We're rebuilding after a few months of being off. Thank you guys for showing up. I'm glad that you were willing to join the conversation. Don't forget that we have a Patreon at patreon.com at BID_P. That's patreon.com/BID_P. I've got some work to do for our new patrons, our new queens. Shannon Boom Boom Lay, Laura Holton, and Chaley Watson. Thank you guys for your support. So I gotta get on making the Lil Salt Pop figures and mailing them out to those guys, along with the keychains and the miniatures, for all the stuff that we're doing. If you guys want more information and want to know more stuff, feel free to sign up for $1. It's $1. You know what? $1 a month. You lose more than that in change between the sofas. Although, not gonna lie, the $5 and $10 ones are really what I'm batting my eyelashes at you cutely for. If you can afford $10 to $20, then, or $20 and up, then you are awesome. All right. The proceeds go to upkeeping all of this, paying the Twitch fees, paying the streaming service that I'm dealing with right now to get this stuff out there, maintaining the cameras, upkeeping the lenses, paying for the stuff that we do with the communities, like arrows for the archery program for the kids that really love LARPing, stuff for their crafts, their arts, like, you know, the paint and the styrofoam is cheap, but not in bulk when it comes to teaching kids how to do it, and the role-playing game books and the board games and all that stuff. This is the stuff I'm trying to do to give back to the areas that I grew up in and the places that are like it. If you guys have any questions about any of that or comments, well, pull up your keyboard and type in backinthedeck@gmail.com. That's BACKINTHEDECK @gmail.com. Or drop me a line on Twitter @backinthedeck or on Instagram @backinthedeck. And if you want just some amusing, fun, happy things, just a minute to go, you know what? Yeah, one of my favorite YouTubers calls it eye bleach. Then follow us on TikTok @BidP. That's @BIDPY. Okay, no spaces, no underscore. And of course, those are the things that we got to offer out there. And if you're a part of that wretched hive of scum and villainy known as Facebook, then feel free to join up with Deckers on the Book. That is where we give most of our announcements, and it's not buried by the freaking algorithm, which is awesome. That's also where you can talk to each other, talk to me, show us what you're playing, what you're building, what costumes you're wearing, what other hobbies are you into, or have questions. I've been known to give lots of GMing advice on Deckers on the Book to answer one or two questions. If you want instruction, then you have to join the Patreon, because they got to get something. But with that, I gotta say thank you guys for tuning in whenever you're watching or wherever you are. If people tell you that you can't like what you like because of the circumstances of your birth, be it race, religion, creed, gender identity, sexual orientation, your disability, or your budget, you just tell them that we said to take those cards and put them back in the deck. This is Solar Gray, the Cinematic Sorcerer, saying thank you guys so much for joining us, and we will see you next time, probably tomorrow, on the dark side of the room.